Hello and welcome to the TechGeek virtual panel discussion on future-proof career success with the right developer skills in association with Emeritus, wishing everyone a superb and a successful new year. I am your host, Sukriti Adivanshi, and I'm thanking each one of you for being a part of this event today. Thank you for joining for the discussion today. The accelerated demand of digital transformation has led to an ever-increasing demand for full-stack developers. And as we know, the industry is evolving towards adopting full-stack developers as an in-demand talent need. Platformization holds the future, and the skill gap can be addressed by upskilling in full-stack development. And today we are here to talk about, the increasing demand for developers, new avenues, and career tips. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming some knowledge powerhouses that I have with me today here. We'll begin with Adil Vazifdar, Partner Technology Consulting Space, KPMG India. Kicha
Recording
Ramamurthy,
in progress.
Senior Managing Director, Delivery Lead at Accenture's Advanced Technology Centers in India. Mohan, CEO, India and APAC Consumer Emeritus. Palanivel Saravanan, Cloud Engineering Lead, Oracle India Private Limited. And Shiju, Senior Leader of Engineering from Cisco. Gentlemen, I am so elated to have each one of you here with me today. Let's go through a quick round of introductions and then we'll begin with the discussion. So, we'll begin with you, Shiju.
Definitely, Sukriti. Thank you so much for inviting me to this panel, and I'm very delighted to be part of this esteemed team. My name is Shiju Joseph. I've been with this industry for close to 24 years, of which 22 of those years with Cisco systems. So which has given me a kind of a good vantage point to see how the industry, technology, talent, and specifically the skill requirements have transformed over the last couple of decades. And with pandemic, like you mentioned, everything is changing dramatically. So it's a great time for us to have this conversation today. So I'll be very happy to share some of my insights, and I'm looking forward to listen to and learn from the rest of the panel. Back to you, Sukriti.
Thank you, Shiju. Saravanan?
Thank you, and very happy new to all of you. My name is Saravanan. I lead the cloud engineering for Oracle in India. Me and my team's responsibility is to help the customers to take the embark on the cloud journey, and not only embark on the cloud journey, to support them and the entire through the life cycle of it. So we always look for customer for our lifetime. That's the motive we work for it. And I've been with industry for almost 20 years, been with various roles. But that gives a lot of, I would say, knowledge and learnings, which I can share with you, which will be I feel useful for your career development for this forum. Thank you. Over to you, Sukriti.
Thanks, Saravanan. Mohan?
Thanks, Sukriti. I'm Mohan Kannegal. I started my career as a software developer, so I kind of connect with most of you people. I've written code in Visual Basic and .NET. Later in life, I started my own company. It was acquired. I now lead a business in a large tech unicorn. Really looking forward to this conversation. Obviously, there are some great people on the panel, and I'm more a listener than a speaker on this one. The company I work for, we create courses in partnership with universities in the world. For example, we have courses with MIT, many of you would have heard of MIT. That's briefly about me. Looking forward to this conversation, learning and contributing to it.
Thank you, Mohan. Kicha?
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Sukriti. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kicha. So I have been in this industry for close to about 30 years. Started off as a software developer again. Did product development. Did pretty much the services. We've been working in the services industry, both in India and abroad. And my current role today is I am the delivery head in Accenture in India. I'm responsible for all the technology work and projects that we do for all our global customers and the work that we do out of India. So that's a quick bit about me. Over to you, Shiju.
Thank you, Kicha. Adil, will move to you.
Yep. So I come in last. Thanks, Sukriti, for having me over today. I'm a partner with KPMG, which is one of the big 4 consulting organizations. Been in this space for the last 25 years and manage the entire Microsoft business for KPMG over here. I also head the Azure practice for KPMG globally. And the other practice or the other business that comes under me is Salesforce. So good to be on the panel and look forward to an interactive session today. Thanks, Sukriti. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Adil, and thank you, everyone. I'm sure your backgrounds and your experiences have set up just the right intent of our conversation today. So thank you so much for that. Let's begin with the questions. So while this entire demand has increased for the full stack developers, report says that it has increased by 30% in the past 1 year, and it is regarded one of the hottest professions in today's time. So, with this, Shiju, I would want to know from you that how has the demand for techies increased over this pandemic, and what kind of careers and skills have witnessed an elevation in the market when it comes to the developers here?
Absolutely. What a great question to start with, set the stage, Sukriti. So before we get, let's take a step back and look at what are the fundamental industry shifts that have happened because of pandemic. Okay, so number one, if I look at it, like you initially started with saying that there's a quantum leap in digital transformation, which is happening across the industry, across the world, right? And before pandemic itself, all of us are aware that every company had a transformation, digital transformation plan. Everyone had, right? However, like if you look at human evolution, right? Whenever there is a crisis, we all step up and do something unimaginable, right? So during pandemic, whatever a company or a country wanted to achieve in 10 years, we got it done in 6 to 12 months. That's the kind of acceleration which happened in the industry. So as a result, what happened? Every technology sector needed more resources, more talent, more increase in actual requirements. That's what we have seen across the board. But to call out one specific area, if I may, cloud was an enabler in making this digital transformation successful in many sectors. So cloud was one specific area to call out as a skill. Now, second shift, if I may look at it, is a set of industries which became mainstream just because of pandemic. Let's say food delivery immediately comes to our mind, OTT platforms, EdTech, right? And healthcare, a lot of applications around healthcare. Some of these industries really became mainstream as part of, because of pandemic primarily. A lot of VC money started flowing in. A lot of startups started coming around this ecosystem, right? That has triggered a setup. That's where full stack, application development, data management, a suite of requirements started coming in. And the third shift, if I may look at it, right, it is fundamentally the result of the first two. So a quantum leap in digital transformation and this new set of industries coming in, that resulted in a lot of pressure, a lot of stress on the underlying infrastructure. It may be the network infrastructure, it may be cloud infrastructure, or in general, the IT infrastructure. So scale and complexity, overcoming that has become a priority right now, including companies like Cisco, where we look at simplifying the operational challenges of our customers, right? By increasing automation, closed loop automation primarily, data management, analytics, and all associated aspects of it, right? That, in my view, is actually a major trend where a lot of new talent is actually getting created. So net digital transformation, new industries becoming mainstream because of pandemic, and the operational simplification requirements on the infrastructure. All these three resulted in huge demand for tech careers. So it's a great time to be a techie. So that's where it is. Back to you, Sukriti.
Thanks, Shiju. I think that's a good start to my question in terms of asking for the demands and how it has increased. I will move to Adil now. So Adil, technology is, become more human-centric and CX-driven. The role of developers have become more holistic across, the front end, back end, and the delivery solutions that we look at has different factors where, what organizations look at. So help me understand, what does the current the talent scape look like, and how companies are assessing the tech talent in today's time?
So I'll go ahead from what Shiju mentioned, Sukriti, okay? Because if you take all these demand drivers that have hit us, okay, and I completely agree with all the three that he mentioned. Okay, supply side, if I look at it in terms of supply, when I say in terms of the people coming out of colleges, in terms of people already working in industry, etc., there's this big reshuffle which is going on. Okay, what you typically hear about the big resignation or the great resignation and so on and so forth, where you've got talent saying that, look, 2 years, I didn't look outside my four walls. I'm sick and tired of working from home. How do I look at different things, right? So, and you're seeing it, whether you look at things like travel and tourism, people just want to travel because you're just sick and tired of sitting at home. And in exactly the same way, what we are also seeing is that people are wanting to shift into a new organization, not because they're not getting enough opportunities in an existing organization. It's just that maybe they're looking for change. Now, when I combine with that human behavior, if I can use that word, with all the opportunities that's coming up, right? All the opportunities which were kind of reduced or which were kind of not at the forefront. So companies, clients today are increasingly looking at technology to solve all their problems. Technology is now becoming very centric to everything that they do. And I was sharing with someone else in another discussion that, even large financial institutions today, they all say that we are a tech company. They no longer say I'm a FI, they say I'm a tech company. Banks say I'm a tech company. Okay. So that's one part of it, and that's driving a lot of demand. Coming to the second part of your question, Sukriti, in terms of how do companies like ourselves, right? So a company like KPMG, which is primarily into advisory business, into consulting business, is seeing its technology practice gallop leaps and bounds. We got kind of experiencing in some of our technology businesses, large businesses, we are experiencing more than 100% growth. So we have actually tripled our revenues in the last 12 months. Even during COVID years, we saw growth of 50, 60, 80%. Now, this growth is primarily also getting fueled from not just work in India, but also work coming in from the global side. And the third angle, Sukriti, that I would also look at, that we look at, is attitude of the people who are joining us. Because I think skill sets today, yes, you need to keep moving up the value chain. You need to keep ensuring that, if I'm a .NET developer, like I think Mohan or Kicha mentioned, that's today very commoditized. Can I become a full stack developer? Beyond full stack, can I look at cloud? Can I look at AI? And, I'm sure somewhere or the other in the discussion, things like metaverse and, blockchain and those kind of terms are going to get thrown around. So how do I is the attitude of the person who's coming in, a learning attitude becomes a very, very critical aspect of what we look at. Just to share with you, yes, you've got your skills, which will take you only so far, but do you have the learning attitude? Do you have that mindset to keep learning? Like what Mohan said, keep learning, keep listening. That makes all the difference in the individual that we look at. Back to you, Sukriti.
Thanks, Adil. Adil, Shiju and you, both of you spoke about the increased demands and how it's evolving day by day. All of us knows it's very obvious, and we're talking about it, that the full stack developers, to be very precise, are in demand. And do you think it's a very premium skill and the companies are ready to go their way out to pay for them and, have them on board? Do you think that those aspects are something that the companies look at?
Can I throw a statistic which will kind of help reiterate this point?
Sure.
So as a practice, we recently, if I look at the last 9 months, Sukriti, we've had 3 rounds of salary increases. So we gave an increase in March, we gave it in April, and we recently did it in September. And come March, our annual increments will kick in. So it just gives you an idea that, and I'm sure this is not only true for KPMG, I'm sure it's true. I can see the people smiling on the camera. It's true for all of us. I think, like someone said, it's a great time to be a developer. Okay. But just a word of caution here, if I can put it that way, is that yes, you're getting your increases, you're getting fantastic pay rises and all of that. But the world is round, right? At some point in time, if you are not able to keep up with your future skills, not today's skills, but future skills, if you're not able to keep learning, you're not able to keep moving up the value chain, then that kind of a growth in salary or comp won't happen. So that's very critical in my view. But Shiju or anyone else wants to add in?
Yeah, I'm open if anybody wants to add anything here. Should we? Okay. If not, then I will just move to a very pertinent point, with what Adil, you've just made a pointer. And audience, please make a note of these things, what these tech leaders are telling you, because this actually can be a great booster for you to actually work and upskill yourselves and, enhance your entire experience in the industry. Okay, jokes apart, let's move to the next one here. Kicha, I would want to know from you that what's driving demand for skills in areas like full stack developers, and what are the critical skills that you are analyzing in the market right now?
Yeah, so I'm smiling because if you ask 10 people the definition of full stack engineers, you'll get 10 different answers. Okay, so but actually I was not for some brief reason I was not able to unmute, but I want to add a little bit to flow from what Shiju said and what Adil said. So,
sure.
So clearly, there is a huge demand. I think, which as Shiju pointed out, all businesses are changing, and as Adil pointed out, I mean, technology is becoming core. But the key thing to remember is that this is global. It's happening across the board. The pandemic has accelerated it, and it is global. No place has been spared. So that's one aspect of it. So the demand is across the board, and this in turn is causing, I believe, a huge opportunity in India itself. Because, I mean, if you look at the demographics across the globe, I don't think the world has a choice but to come to India to, service this need. There's a huge demand. So therefore, the demand is just, surging in a massive way and that is to serve the globe as a whole. Now, coming to FSC and all that stuff, the one other fundamental shift that will explain this need and that all of you to understand is the way software is getting built is changing. Okay, now why is that happening? So as everyone pointed out, all businesses are changing, accelerating their transformation, rapidly changing. So one key element that you will see, common theme you will see across every single C-level leader in the industry and the business will be that they want things to be done very fast, very quickly, and they want the outcomes today. So you will see fundamental set of shifts in the way software is doing. One of the key shifts that is happening to address this need is the fact that team sizes are becoming smaller. You'd have heard different terms for it, right? You'd have heard 2 pizza teams, you'd have heard, pods and all that stuff. But what essentially is happening is teams are made to become smaller. Then the other aspect is teams are becoming interdisciplinary. Basically, teams are becoming interdisciplinary and equipped to take decisions by themselves, to make changes to business and make sure that things can move at a fast pace, which calls out the fact that you need multiple skills in this small team. So from, installing a software to doing data, to actually deploying on cloud, to actually figuring out what a customer wants and how to make a change to UX, to various aspects, the full cycle. Every single aspect is addressed by this self-contained small team. So this fundamental change is actually driving a shift for multiple skills and multiple needs. So this multiple skills, you will see different terms for it. Of course, FSC is there, and you will see different shapes being described. You have heard about T-shape, pie-shape, X-shape, all kinds of shapes you will hear. But underlying the key thing is that people are required to have both depth and breadth across multiple skills that are relevant to execute that particular, whatever that particular project demands. You will hear a few common things. You will hear, there are, of course, a bunch of skills. There are many different skills that are required. But before that, I want to give you folks an analogy. Think about cricket, right? If you shift back a few decades, you would okay if you're just a bowler. If you're a great bowler, you're great. If you're a good batsman, you're great. You don't need to be that great a fielder, right? We know enough examples of people who are doing that. But the game shifted to now, you cannot be in cricket. In the last 10 years, if you look at it, our game shifted. You cannot be in cricket unless you're supremely fit and you're a great fielder too. There's no excuse, right? Now it has even shifted further. You need to be not only a great batsman, bowler, fielder, you need to actually be able to adapt to multiple formats. You need to play a T20, a one-day, a test match, and you call it. And last but not the least, by the way, you have to be good at addressing the press and social media too, right? So that's the analogy I will pick, and that's the analogy I'll give for the teams of today in trying to build the skills, right? On the skills itself, there are, of course, bunch of technologies, right? I mean, there are key technologies like cloud, data, analytics, security, AI, automation, IoT. And of course, all of these are above, in addition to languages, frameworks, tools that you've got to be adept with, and approaches across various forms of agile, scrum, safe, and so on and so forth. There are also, in some cases, emerging areas like, AR, VR, blockchain, distributed ledger, 3D printing, quantum computing, all that stuff. But these are all emerging areas. So there is a whole gamut of technologies that are involved, and they change based on the kind of work, kind of customer, kind of industry, kind of domain you work with. Okay, and every single industry that I've come across has a definition for full stack engineer. But the underlying thing that I want to leave you with before I pass it on to the panel is, like I think Shiju pointed out, or one of you pointed out, is that I think technology skills are different, but the underlying key thing that all of you will need, all of us will need, which is most critical, will be the ability to learn continuously. Learn, unlearn continuously, because this will keep changing. This will keep evolving. Your ability to pick this up rapidly, understand, abstract, and do that on a continuous basis will become key. And I'll leave you with this thing, which is, if there is one, everyone says, right, one thing you can be sure of is change. I can tell you that one thing you can be sure of in this area is there will be no change. Learning will absolutely have to be continuous. There will be no change in this requirement in this industry. You have to be able to learn and unlearn on a daily, weekly, and a monthly basis, as long as you're in this industry. Over to you, back to you.
That should be a quote unquote, Kicha. I'm pretty sure about it. That should be a quote unquote for our audience today. Okay, I think Mohan, you raised a hand.
Sorry, I raised my hand because I was inspired listening to the points being made, where I could think of some themes and some ways to capture it. So here is just maybe 3 things or 4 things I can say. I think the question being asked is, how fat is your learning wallet? Right. So all of us have learning wallets. All of us have, some of us have handbags. But how fat is the learning wallet? Right. Is like a big question. Second, when you open your learning wallet, do you see full stack, data, machine learning, cybersecurity, cloud inside it? I think is the other question all of them are saying. Quite differently, I think, how many different passport holders have you spoken to? Right, seems to be the other question. The global idea is coming from there, saying, how many different passport holders have you spoken to? Most of us are proud about our own passports, but I'm saying, how many different passport holders have you spoken to? Thirdly, how big is your network? So is it more collaborative? Are there more people who know you? As one other element, I think Kicha touched upon social media presence, etc. In a sense, how much are you projecting yourself? Of course, the last point, maybe a little later in the conversation, also is how healthy are you, right? So, but I'll keep that aside for the time being, because in the end, stamina, energy, etc. also matters. So the big point, I think, for me was how fat is the learning wallet? What's inside there? How fat is it? Yeah. So sorry.
I would completely agree with. Yes, and I would completely agree with Kicha saying that it's a constant learning process, and it is not going to change for any one of us, no matter which field. So this is applicable to any field that you are working today, Kicha. It's not just the IT sector, but anywhere. We need to constantly upskill ourselves, learn new things in order to, one, explore, and in order to maintain that pace with which the industry is moving, right? So it's very, very important for us. I will move to Saravanan now. Saravanan, I would want to know from you that how do you think the developers can make a real difference and a successful career in today's time? I would want you to answer this from your learning experiences and what you see in the market right now.
Sure, it's a very interesting question, Sukriti, and I think, some of the comments are very, very impactful, like what Shiju mentioned about the pandemic, new stuff, industries and scale, as well as Kicha and Adil. So there are two points to this question. One is how can they make a difference how developers can make a difference. The second is how can they be successful career, right? I begin with a quote from Charles Darwin, who was a famous geologist. He mentioned that it is not the it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. That's the one it survives, right? We discussed about change is constant. One which doesn't change is the constant. I completely go with that. It's about most adaptable is going to be the key, right? Who can really make a difference. Developers, or I would, if you call me, I mean, if you ask me, they are the future CTOs, chief technologists. They run the business, right? Today, just going back to Shiju's point, I just noted down, the industries are changing. Today, when we think about food, we took a quickly look at 2-3 variants, right? And they're all software, they're all tech software companies. They're not a foodies. They just connected the two ends together and make the business, right? So it's about how you, as a developer, think about the business and bridging the entire piece of it, right? If there's a CRM developer, he should look at how a customer life cycle is going to carry out and build what they're building in the software, how it's been covered, right? It should be end to end. That's what makes a difference for the developers, right? That will really take them to the next level when they look at holistically, be participative in the overall business execution, and how as a end customer they feel when they look at this software and when they look at the solution what they're providing. That's going to be the important aspect of it, right? Second is about the successful career. How they can make a successful career, right? Many points which Kicha mentioned, Adil mentioned about it, right? Today, and Mohan clearly pointed out, it's how big is the wallet and whether they have the cloud, big data, or blockchain. Those are the emerging technologies. Is it in the wallet, right? I go fully with them, right? The point is the languages and the frameworks continuously gets evolved and continues to keep changing, right? One is fundamentally you should be stronger. That will take you to that will make you quickly learn anything. The second point is about be it the cloud or be it the full stack developers, and then the security piece of it, and low code. These are the 3-4 elements which will make everybody to have a successful career, because these are the ones which is going to play an important role in today's world as well as in the future world, right? Being a low code developer, quickly bring the elements together and build the overall mobile application in a much shorter time, and most importantly, put it in the cloud and scale it up to the elastic in nature, elastic application, right? That's what it's going to make a impactful to the developers, right? That will make them to have a successful career in their with them. Over to you, Shukrati.
Interesting. So, I wanted to add a little bit to that in terms of successful, and I wanted to actually build upon another point, kind of what all three of you mentioned, which is, and I want everyone to remember that as much as this industry talks about skills, your technology, your capability, you being the expert, what have you learned, what have you done, right? Remember that software development, technology, being a coder, being a developer, being in this is a team game. It is a team game, right? And when I say this, I think it is important because you cannot be. It is more and more. Actually, it has become increasingly more important. Every companies, people, everyone has realized that you cannot be successful alone. So your ability to work with others and your ability to communicate, your interpersonal skills, listening skills, dealing with others in a collaborative way is going to be one of the most important factors for success, especially in a post-pandemic, distributed, agile, diverse, multi-country world, multi-location, multi-geography world. I can assure you that this is going to be one of the things. Of course, you have to be a technology. Of course, what Saravanan said is important. I'm trying to emphasize on the software aspect, which I think is extremely also critical. Everyone is expected to be a technologist, but this is going to become extremely relevant and is going to be a single biggest big success factor.
Yep.
Thanks, Kicha. Mohan,
I can just add
Shiju.
one point on the success factor for careers, right? Great points from both Saravanan and Kicha. So adding to that, one important point, we touched upon the requirement for breadth and depth, right? The question comes where, with the variety of opportunities available, right? We're looking at how do we build that depth, right? Where do we build the depth rather, right? That's very important point for youngsters to look at. That's where the opportunity today. We all don't have to just worry about just development, code development, and multiple languages. They can look at what are they really passionate about. Even the looking at UX, right? I'm hearing that people who are creative in nature, they are actually finding it a great opportunity. And because with all these applications, new scenarios coming out, there is a lot of need for artistic people to actually be spending time on UX and recreate that, rebuild that magic, right? And you have, so each one of us have space, unique space to actually exist and provide that depth and make a huge impact. And that will make you love your job and ensure a long-term success. So that attach that strength, find that strength, and find that correct position to in the industry, you probably will get both it right and make yourself future-proof. Just adding about the success factor. Yeah, over to you.
Thank you, Shiju. Mohan, okay, Adil, go ahead.
Sorry, Sukriti. I just wanted to add into what I heard, okay? And I think the word that I would look at is curiosity, okay? Normally you would say curiosity kills the cat, but I think in today's world, curiosity wins the game. And why I'm saying that is because, if you connect all the stuff that we've spoken about in the last half an hour, okay, our ability to learn and learn, our ability to be aware that change is the only constant, it's only going to increase, right? The teamwork part of what Kicha mentioned, what Shiju just mentioned, okay? So it's like a baton relay, the way I look at it always. You've got your core stuff that you're doing. At some point in time, you need to hand over that core stuff that you've done to the next guy. So you need to be curious that the person that I'm handing over my workload to, have I got some understanding of that? And in the same way, the person who gave me his stuff, right, whether it was a requirement document, whether it's a business process, whatever it is, do I have some amount of understanding from there? So I cannot only stick to my stuff and say, Baki sab team, whatever they do, I don't care. Because if I am not curious and if I am not continuously pushing the boundaries of my own learning or of my own skill set, then I'm not going to be successful in tomorrow's world. So that's what I would like to just add in.
Thank you, Adil. Anyone else has anything else to add? Saravanan, would you want to add something here?
I go with the experts we work with. It's curiosity, very important. And today's world, if you ask me, the successful career is more about the constant learning plays a very, very important role. Right, that's going to be the key. Like I again allude to what Mohan mentioned about how big is your wallet, right? Because the technologies are constant changing. It's not only the technology is also in constant change mode, right? And it's about how we upskill ourselves and be ready for the next change. Next position or next change level of activity, what we're going to get it. So we should be ready for that. Hence learning is going to be a key aspect of all the things.
Thanks, Saravanan. So before I move to Mohan to substantiate what other speakers have just mentioned, audience, we're open for Q&A. If you have any questions that you would want to ask our experts today, please feel free to drop them in here. And once we're done with our discussions, we'll probably take them up. Okay, so just feel free to drop in your questions. Moving to you, Mohan, now. You will, I know, add a very important value to this entire conversation, the pointers that all of our experts have made. So just go ahead and add your inputs here to the conversation, Mohan.
Sure. Thanks, Sukriti. As most of you would realize, we are not in the engineering space itself. We are an edtech company. We enable the people who have the skills, and then they go to some of the companies that these panelists are leaders at and develop their careers. So two things I would say. One, I think I've already said learning wallet, but just as a memorable phrase, if you can build that learning wallet is one thing. Related to it was the aspects around collaboration, network, getting to know people, etc. The global is something I would insist or I would reiterate, because as you will see, even among the panelists, if you were to join any of these companies, you will be working with teams not only in India, right? So you will certainly be working with people in other geographies, and that is a skill required for career advancement. My simple point there is develop yourself, build those skills, and we as a company offer obviously programs, courses that help you get there. So for example, very specifically to what the audience is saying, we have courses in full stack development, we have courses in cybersecurity, in data engineering, in cloud management. So all the aspects that the panel mentioned, machine learning, AI, so all of that, digital transformation. So we have courses in all of these areas from some of the best universities. We have courses from MIT, which is by far one of the best engineering institutes in the world. Having said that, the related point is, while we have these courses, it's not really about just the content, but also in these courses, we teach the other skills of collaboration, projects, ability to work with people from different industries. So building a network, having a global perspective, your faculty is global. So all of those elements are in a sense available there. But lastly, I will leave all of us with the big point that careers in technology are not only for technologists. We also enable, and we should, all of us should participate in this initiative where technology today is the route for a lot of wealth creation, inequality removal. It helps so many people succeed in life, improve their quality of lives. So one of the other things we are working on extensively is to offer these programs to people who are not from tech backgrounds, right? And my request to everybody on the panel would be that as we develop alternate sources of people. So for example, let's say there's a set of people who've done a BA in history, right? And now want the tech skills and let's say want to join Oracle or KPMG. I would say, please give these people an equal chance in these organizations, because otherwise we are in a sense creating a society where only a few people have access to the best jobs, right? So without a doubt, like I think Adil mentioned, if you do 3 salary hikes in a year, obviously wealth is getting created. So let's see how that wealth can be more democratized, right? So and how do you democratize? Of course, we offer programs, we are open-ended. We don't say we will take only engineers or anything like that. We welcome everybody. But also companies have to recruit them, give them those opportunities so it can grow. So I would say, please also democratize while we enhance the skill sets. Of course, needless to say, we offer programs in all these areas. So welcome anybody to join. Yeah. So back to you, Sukriti.
I just wanted to add on what Mohan said, especially on this last part, I think, So one of the things that we believe is actually in the future, it is not just about technology. Actually, we call this, instead of STEM, we call it STEAM. We call arts also, right? See, because one of the things that we will need in the future, the way things are happening, is beyond technology skills, we need also human skills. We need skills come together to be able to holistically reimagine the business, the customer experience, and all of those aspects. So we need people with skills beyond technology. And that will be a huge opportunity for people just for skills beyond technology, because we are looking to solve problems that in a holistic manner. I mean, you talk about AI, there's the ethics side of it, right? So there are every single technology of the future is actually coming with a human element of it. So the future will need not just technology, but technology along with human skills to be able to solve problems. So I actually think it's a very important aspect that you mentioned. It's one of our biggest focus areas, and you'll see this continue to evolve.
Thank you, Kicha.
So,
Yes.
sorry, Sukriti, I just wanted to add this in because it's very interesting what topic we've raised here. So sometime back, we actually ran a few sessions, Mohan, for all our people in our team around what we called as storytelling skills. Okay, and it was in a very positive way that I'm saying storytelling, because normally there could be a negative connotation to it, right? Ke kya story bata raha hai? Okay, but this was more around teaching our people or training our people that when you are interacting with a client, okay, whether it's for an engagement, whether it's pre-sales, whether it's demos, or whatever it is, it's very important not to just say that, okay, this is what you gave me and this is what I'm giving you back, right? Or this is what I understood of your requirements, this is what I've coded, or ye le lo. It is more important to say that if this is the day in life of that particular stakeholder, or this is the day in life of that particular process, explain it in that manner with your output as either your piece of code or your finalized output, and so on and so forth. So completely agree with what Kicha said. Those aspects, okay, or what Mohan you mentioned, those aspects of the human element in technology. I think people who master it are really going to do well, is the way I would look at it.
Absolutely,
Somebody
Adil.
can I add one
Yes,
liner
please.
there? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Just when Adil talk about it, I could relate many of the situations, because we are a product company and we sell solutions to the customer. In general, when we put the technologies in front of the customer, right, like Adil mentioned, it's all about what you've given me and what is the output of that, right? We generally go with the 1:1, but that generally don't. If we go for buying a car, do we expect that is 1, 2, 3 is 1, 2, 3 done now? Can you give the check for the car? That's not the case, right? There's a lot of human element into that. Actually, there's a say that people buys from people. That's a very, very important aspect. And people always go for the people when they look for certain, I would say, typical problem, a complex problem to solve, or a complex build an organization. They work for the people who know them in the past and take them out, right? That plays a very, very important element, just connecting the dots to what Kicha mentioned about the human element. The second is, most importantly, is how how are we making a, I would say, how are we solving the problem? How are we giving addressing the business requirement? That is going to be the important element, next element, right? When I address the business requirement of the given client or the customer, or in the coding side, what I'm addressing the important piece, that becomes a major element for any technologist to adopt that, right? Otherwise it's like you expect certain input and I give output and move on, but that doesn't, when it works with the other things, it doesn't work very well, right? That's going to be these are the two elements which is very, very important for everyone to succeed. Over to you, Shukruti.
A quick clarification here. I just want to make sure. So I was looking at all the threads. So I think there are two key points being made here. One is for the soft side of skills, the human element of the side of skills are important for you to be successful as developers. But the other point, or to be successful technologists, the other point that is also being made is, I think, which is what I think Mohan also alluded to, was the fact is there is an opportunity in the technology industry for non-engineers, science graduates, right? There's a need for a lot more of the versus STEM versus the STEAM, the arts, and those kind of, and there's a larger scope, actually, larger scope to be inclusive, to actually provide opportunity to a lot more people. And that's the other element of the side that we talked about. So there are two distinct aspects that we covered here. I just wanted to leave that on.
Thanks, Kicha. So, before I go for the last question here, I would want to tell everyone that we have more than 1,000 people watching us live right now. And it's time for us to address all of them. And with the last question that I have for each one of you is, people normally, conversations like this actually tend to give you sort of advices and, guidance in terms of, people who are listening to us. So, with this, I would want to know from each one of you that, all the things said and talked, one lesson or one advice for our, people watching live, that one tech career success that no one actually teaches or talks about. So, Kicha, we'll begin with you. One advice that you've never spoken about and you would want to share with our audience today.
Okay. So something that has helped me be a very successful developer, architect, manager, technologist, salesperson in my career in the last 30 years is, see, everyone is a technologist. Everyone is good at technology. It's expected, right? But the underlying key is you need to understand what purpose of what you're trying to solve with technology. You need to understand the larger objective behind what you're doing. So therefore, understanding your client's domain, function, business will become a key differentiator. Whoever is able to understand that aspect of what you're trying to do with technology, and then you use your technology skills to solve and bring that together will be extremely critical, and this will become one of the key success factors and differentiators for you in your career.
Thank you, Kicha. Audience, I hope you have your pen and diary handy with you. You're making notes of all this exclusive advice that our experts are giving out today. Saravanan, I'll move to you.
Thank you, Kriti. So if I can, based on my past experience and based on whatever I've been gone through the career, right? One piece of advice I can give you is developers should look at inch wide, mile deep. The reason is, couple of years back, we used to have a C developer, Java developer, UX specialist, and then various naming for the developer, right? But then today's world, it's not going to be. It's all about, as we discussed in the panel, it's going to be a very small team. They're going to be self-sufficient to do every work. So you will be a UX developer, you will be a full stack developer, you will have everything. So the point I'm making is the versatilized is going to be very, very important aspect of it. As long as you have a inch wide, mile deep, it's going to be important for every object, every subject. They will have a successful career in that field. Thanks to you, Sukriti.
Wonderful. Thanks, Saravanan. Adil?
Okay, I'm going to give a different perspective here. Okay, and when you ask that question, Sukriti, the way I looked at it is that as your career progresses, okay, and considering all the stuff that we just spoke about over the last 45 minutes, 1 hour, I think one aspect that we've not spoken about, and what I have seen, across my 25 years of working, is many a times people think that, okay, I'm a great developer or I have a great amount of knowledge or great expertise in a particular area, and that should take me right up to the top. But my view is that people who reach the top, and that's why I said I'm giving a perspective of not where you will be in the next 5 years or 10 years, but I'm saying that where will you as an individual be 20 years down the line, 25 years down the line, okay? And for you to reach that level of, seniority, I think what you should start imbibing, maybe end of 5 years of your career or 10 years of your career, is what makes business tick. So you've got your core competency, right? You've got your core expertise around being a full stack developer, being a CRM guy, being a ERP guy, whatever it is. But what are the rules relating to running a successful business is something that you need to slowly and steadily start imbibing. Because only when you start imbibing those rules, okay, or only when you start understanding how that business works, how that practice works, okay, will you be able to break the glass ceiling. So my advice, okay, Sukriti, or my answer to you would be that, yes, look at where you will be 3 years down the line, look at where you will be 5 years down the line, but do not lose track of the fact that this is a marathon, right? You don't need to only look at the next 5 years, but you need to look at where will you be at the end of the 20th year, where will you be at the end of the 25th year of your career, and keeping in mind those business learnings. Because if you look at a lot of the businesses that are today very, very successful, right, whether across the spectrum, and you've got leaders who've all come from technology backgrounds, but somewhere in their career, okay, they've shifted and said, yes, technology is a critical part of what I do. I am a technologist, but I have now imbibed the rules of running the business. I have now understood what makes a business grow. I've understood what makes a business profitable. How do I ensure customer service, and so on and so forth. So Sukriti, back to you.
Thanks, Adil. Shiju?
Thanks. Great thought, Adil. Mixing business, technology, and human element, I think all put together, right? That's actually a deadly combination. So great stuff. So this all reminds me back to when I was like in my first 5 years, in the early part of my career, right? So I remember, like many of you, we all were passionate about programming at that time too. And some of us used to always spend time creating new, say, tools for our own team beyond our regular work. I remember this, where we used to spend a lot of time, maybe weekends and night, and to create something, which we felt, wow, and then go to the team and present it, and hardly anybody listens and nobody bothers, not much adoption. But sometimes I remember once we just put few things together, spent a couple of hours, and then took it to the team, and it was adopted, and it was appreciated big time. So one of my mentors then told me that it is not the size of our effort right? Or the amount of new skills that we add really matters. It is actually the impact of the problem that we are trying to solve. That's what matters. So today we touched upon a lot of skills and, a lot of them, right? And we have been talking about and we see everywhere. So skills we can learn. We have great learning platforms where in the comfort of our home, we can pick up any skill. But what really matters is actually our ability to identify the problem that we have to solve on the ground, right? And on demand, pick up the required skills. We have all the facilities available. If we have that attitude, right, to chase the worthy problems and then on demand pick up the right skills, then we are future-proof. Pandemic or non-pandemic, it doesn't matter. I think that will be my advice.
Thanks, Shiju. And we have a lot of questions pouring in, and I would want to start with them so that you could answer all the questions that people are actually looking at for you to answer. I'll begin with the first one. The panel mentioned the importance of.
Sorry, Sukriti. I also wanted to summarize. Everybody else got a turn.
So I thought you would want to do that after we go for the questions, but nevertheless, you can go ahead. Should we?
Yeah, sure. So no, just because it's fresh in the mind.
Yes, please.
What everybody has said. So I would say three takeaways for me would be build your learning wallet, create impact, and lastly, I would add make friends. So when I say that, I usually ask people, how many senior leaders in your company are your friends? Right, and I mean that sentence could be networking, understanding, etc. But that's really the metric. I would say, can you name at least one senior leader in your company as your friend, mentor? And if you can do that, you're really building a network. So those are my three.
Thank you. Let's go ahead. Okay, the panel mentioned the importance of soft skills. How will it be measured? And it's easy to measure and assess coding skills, but what about the soft skills? So that's a very relevant question we've got. Who would want to start?
I can, Sukriti, I can take a stab at that. Of course,
yes,
the rest of the panelists have more experience. Yes. I often remember somebody telling me, if you see a duck crossing a pond, right? So that's a classic example of soft skills. When you see a duck crossing the pond, above the water, what you see is the duck gliding, right? And below the water is you see the duck furiously moving its legs, right? And you can't see that. You can't see the duck moving its legs. But above the water, it looks like it's quite easily gliding. Soft skills to me is similar in that the outcomes that you achieve, which looks like a duck gliding, your project gets done, your software runs, etc., is because of the hard paddling of soft skills below the surface, right? So soft skills may not be easy to measure, but it hugely impacts outcomes, which is why you should be developing it.
Wonderful.
You can stab on that, Sukriti.
Absolutely, yes, please.
Yeah, soft skills is not about only applies to the official environment or in the office. It is about our day-to-day interaction with our, within the home, with our spouse, with our kids, or with the neighbors. Also in the social communication. So you cannot measure it, but you can see the outcome, how is going to make it impactful, right? That's very, visibly you can see the difference. Be it with a young kid will give you a lot of insights, right? When you talk to them, you have to go to their world and then talk. Then they can have a meaningful conversation. Else, you will be in a different, conversation tactics around that, right? So soft skill not measurable, but then like how everyone develops their skill set on the technology, this is equally important. It's very, very important, be it in the official or be it in the personal, or if suddenly somebody come given a mic and then ask you to speak, you should know what to talk and how can be how can you think on the feet and then deliver it. That's going to be very important.
Yeah. And starting that, okay, go ahead, Kicha.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Shiju. You want to continue?
So I was just looking at a report from Udemy workplace survey yesterday, right? So actually it was interesting to say, till now we call it all these skills as soft skill. With pandemic, it is becoming a power skill, because today everybody sitting at home, if we don't have the basic soft skills that we typically call about assertiveness or communication skills and writing skills, no one will be even know where we exist or not. So it is very important that we actually develop it. And how do we measure? Like some of you mentioned already, right? It'll actually, it'll make your life comfortable. You know what, you will feel like you are on the same page as your team members in the team meetings. When you talk about, if you're not communicating, you'll feel that you are the one getting into the sideline. So you can observe it, right, if you really care to, right? So it's very important that we develop it. And with pandemic and hybrid in a way going to sustain for quite some time, this has become super important to do that.
Yeah. So, and I'll probably take some specific examples to throw more color, right? I know it's difficult to measure, but clearly every manager, every practitioner knows, pretty much can, work with their team and define how it is, right? See, for example, we talk about learnability, learning and all that. So how fast can you learn a subtopic? How quickly can you pick up something? How quickly can you meet the needs of a project, and how quickly you can adapt is a very key thing. And you will keep changing. By the way, in the current world, projects keep churning and you keep moving from project to project, from engagement to engagement. And, it's a very, very, what I call as dynamic environment. So how do you perform across multiple engagements by picking up new skills is a very key, easily measurable. Have you been able to cope up with it? Have you been able to contribute to it? How soon are you being able to be productive? How soon are you making an impact? Is something that you can, people can figure out. So that's one example. The other example, again, there are multiple ways of measuring even communication. For example, like I think Adil mentioned, right? Storytelling. Are you able to create impact, at the right moment, at the right time? Are you able to communicate crisply what is needed, right? Are you able to communicate with a client and make sure you understand their requirements? Are you able to, so who has been more effective in understanding the customer's requirements and in sync with it? Very easily measurable, right? I have 10 people working in a team and 10 people interact with 10 clients, right? You know which one is who's most effective, how accurately you're able to capture and seamlessly deploy and make things change to the best of the customer satisfaction is something that can be measured. So the point is, soft skills will manifest itself, like I think Mohan mentioned, in every single activity that you do, and in that activity and the effectiveness of the activity can be measured. So it manifests itself in that format, and you can take any soft skill and we can break it down. But you have to remember that it can be measured in terms of effectiveness and how well you're doing the job.
I just want to add, not about, so everyone's spoken about it, right? My only point that I would like to leave the audience with is that even if no one is measuring your soft skills in a very scientific way, right? The way they are measuring your coding skills, remember people around you, people above you, people below you are all the time evaluating you on your soft skills. And they're not really evaluating you on the soft skill, but the evaluation happens in the way they respond to you, okay, or the way they work with you. So if you are good at your soft skills, okay, your team members will react very differently with you. Okay, they'll be willing to go out, go out beyond the normal distance to ensure that the project is successful. Okay, if you've got good soft skills, you've got a good set of, someone mentioned friends, right, or mentors. So your people around you, people above you, are all the time reacting very differently to you if you've got your soft skills. So it's very easy for you yourself to see that between you and some other person who has the better soft skills, primarily from the way that people are responding to you. So that's how I would leave it, Sukriti.
Thank you, Adil. So I think to summarize of what all of you've just mentioned, I think it's a rationale of a qualifier, right, for the candidates to have an additional effort there, right? Because as everybody mentioned, having your core skills and enhancing them, polishing them is important. But these soft skills are normally judged and evaluated in the course of these interviews that people go out, right? So, and that's an approach. It's not a qualifier, but more kind of an approach that people come with, and the organizations also, onboard people with, and at least interview them. So, thank you for that. I will move to the next one. All right. So, this question says that I want to become a software engineer, having 7 years of experience in retail management. Is it late for me to start learning, and can I expect a good salary?
Well, sorry, Kicha, since I was unmuted, let me. So first answer is it's never too late. Okay, so whoever's asked that question, I would say it's never too late. It's more about your passion is how I would answer it. So if you've been a retail guy or any other area and you feel that there is something much beyond that particular area that you've invested 7 years in, and you would like to get into another area, you should jump into it. Okay, is the way I would answer it. I don't think you should, honestly speaking, be too fussed about salary. The reason I'm mentioning that is because that will come. Okay, like we all saw in that movie Three Idiots. Okay, where I think Amir Khan or someone said, run after competency. The rest of the world will run after you. Okay, so that's the way I would answer it. Okay, if you feel that and retail, if you really look at it, and if you go and talk to some of the retail giants today, including someone like an Amazon, I don't think Amazon says it's a retail company, or it'll say I'm a tech company. Okay, and so would a Walmart and any of the other companies. So follow your dream is what I would say. Okay, definitely salary is important, but you may have to make some trade-offs. That's the way I would say it. But if you think that that's the way, that's what makes your heart beat, then you should go after it, is my advice to whoever's asked that question. Kicha, back over to you.
No, I think you answered it. I think I made it clear. So all I can say is that if you can go for it, you have a fantastic career. Just don't be bothered about, the near-term benefits versus the long-term potential. That's all I will.
And Sukriti, if I can just add, because that's on top of it, right? If you were spent 7 years in retail, you have gotten a lot of context. Adil already touched upon earlier about the business context, right? That's very valuable. You don't have to surrender it to move on to tech career. You have to take that and see how can you fit that context in the place you go to. And that's going to be a super powerful combination, which is going to give you returns. You don't have to really feel actually that you're shifting. Rather, you're actually adding one more skill and making a small shift in your career. That's how I put it. So use your context, use the business context, and take it and make it bigger.
All right, should I move to the next one then? Okay, I will take this one. When hiring for my team, what skills do you suggest to look for? I think this is a question from a recruiter, very well, well framed. I'll go ahead. So when hiring for my team, what skills, do you suggest to look for? Coding and portfolio, everyone will have. So how to filter through so many applications?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, Sukriti? I didn't.
Okay, so the question is, when hiring for my team, what skills do you suggest to look for? That's the first part. The second part is saying that coding and portfolio everyone has. So how should I filter through so many applications and then find the right candidate?
Okay. So I think there are tools today which help you do the initial shortlist, okay, if I can use that word. But and some parts of this, I think we've covered, maybe not directly, but indirectly, that, you for every opportunity, maybe you've got 100 CVs or maybe 10 CVs in front of you, right? And if I was evaluating out of those 10, the questions that I would typically ask may not necessarily be about the coding skills of the guy and the technical skills, but I would want to know curiosity. I would not want to know how does that person work in a team? Okay, how does he respond to challenges? See, every engagement will go through ups and downs, right? All of us have been in those engagements. No engagement goes smoothly all the time. I mean, if it's a large complex engagement, especially. So how do I manage a situation where things are going into a difficult patch? So I think the qualitative, the soft skills that we also spoke about earlier, okay, are the things, and those are things which differentiate, right? Beyond, I mean, once you say that expertise is, there is a certain level at which it is, then these are the things that actually make the difference. That's how I would see it.
Anyone wants to add onto that? No? Okay. I will.
Sukriti,
Yes,
sorry, yes.
I'll
just add. Yes, so long ago in my career, I used to run an assessment company. So we used to sit through thousands of interviews literally. So I myself have sat through at least maybe 2,000 or 3,000 interviews. So some of the tools that we had used, I'm kind of answering two questions together. One was, can soft skills be measured? And second was, what should we look for? Now, what you should look for, of course, is very specific to your company. You have to make a call depending on your culture, your requirements, etc. But it's very easy to measure. Some of the techniques I myself used and we've created products around it are, if you want to see resilience, for example, you ask somebody saying, give me an example of the toughest project you ever did in your experience. And what were the challenges? How did you overcome them? Now, while that question is easy, the way to judge the answer is how much of the answer blames the environment and how much of the answer focuses on the self, right? Is a simple way to figure out how people are. Are they solution oriented? Do they blame the world? So that's just one method. I mean, I can go into more detail, but for the purpose of this conversation, that's just one technique. The other, which usually is a very big giveaway for anybody in these conversations, is somebody says, I have high attention to details. And the first sentence in the CV has a spelling mistake. Okay. Or somebody says, I love networking. And then we say, where's your LinkedIn profile? They say, no, I don't have one. So those inconsistencies are the other giveaways. So, and there are many other techniques, but it is very measurable. And you should look for it, because a lot of people could be great engineers, but just don't fit into your company. So it's worth doing.
All right, I will also add something that would actually be very useful to the person who's asked this question. So, there are, as Adil mentioned, there are tools through which you can filter out the candidates, and you can actually benchmark the score and very legibly tell them that, this is the reason and this is the benchmark that we had to qualify certain rounds, and you haven't qualified, so you're not through, right? So you can always opt out for them. Techie has so many solutions. Please go ahead, look at it, and feel free to reach out to the team. I will move to the next question now. Okay, I'm a front-end developer with 3 years of experience. What is the best way to upskill myself at this time? I think we've already spoken about this, but I think we should reiterate this for the person's awareness.
I mean, I'll start off and maybe so the question is really what are you looking to do, right? Where do you want to, what do you want to do? What are you looking for to? But without that knowledge, without that, I'll give you a very broad shot, which is there is enormous possibility here, right? I mean, the world has moved, from front end to bringing front end, back end, and multiple things together. So I would think you would become that. You would expand your range, because there's no longer anyone just hiring front end. Okay. And if there is, I mean, there may be still, but I'm saying, you increase your chances by just looking at becoming much more all-rounded, right? So you should surely look at it. If you have 3 years experience, and if you're looking to further, no matter where you're applying, of course, you'll have to tune whatever you want to do based on where you want to go. But clearly, I see the need for you to just go beyond front end, but also, increase your depth. Like I think Mohan or someone mentioned, right? Not just look at front end, look at front end, back end, but start looking at, what aspects of cloud do you know? What aspects of data do you know? What aspects of AI do you know, right? So all of those elements have become an integral part of software development anyway. And you just increase your chances by, being adapted, knowing all of them.
Absolutely. Mohan, I think you should add something here.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sukriti, we usually recommend the LinkedIn profile approach. So what I mean by that is, go to LinkedIn, find a profile of a person who you want to become next, right? And then scroll down to their skill sets, experience, etc., and then build to that, right? So we call this a CV audit. Essentially, we would recommend everyone to audit their CV every year, see what has changed from last year to this year. If nothing has changed, then maybe it's time to consider what should change. And goal-based, exactly like Kicha said, it has to be goal-based, because there are a million things you could learn. But what's your goal, right? What do you want to be next? So for instance, if you're a full-stack developer, you want to become a tech architect, go to a tech architect profile, find out what do they know that you don't. And the delta is filled with courses, programs, your own learning is ways. Of course, we have thousands of courses, but it's not just about courses, right? It's also your goals.
Anyone else would want to add here? No? All right. So I think that's it. We don't have any more relevant ones. Okay. I know the answer is going to be a yes, yes, and yes. Is full stack development the right skill at this time for a developer? We have been speaking about this throughout the conversation. I think all of us in the panel will agree that yes, it is. This is the time, in the coming time also it will be. So upskill, upskill, and upskill. Anybody would want to add anything? Just to, to pass on? No? Okay. Yes, Kicha?
No. So I know we are at the top of the hour, but if we get an opportunity, we should touch upon the last point which Mohan made, I think, which is important. We didn't bring it earlier, which is around the taking care of your health and taking care of your, entire fitness, mental, as well as physical in this environment. All of us, all leaders of us can certify that. The most effective and the most successful people, coders, technologists for us are the ones who don't get burnt out, who are aware of what they can do, and who take care of themselves first before they take care of everyone else. We pay huge emphasis as an organization for that. All organizations do. We pay extra emphasis on this whole balance, this whole being aware, being, not burning yourself out, being, holistic and all of that stuff. So I think that's a very key element.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely. Well-being is actually going to be, I think pandemic has taught a lot of us on, what is really important, right? So we just have to make sure some of these are built into our careers going forward, even if we go back to the normal life, right? So extremely important, overall well-being.
Absolutely. And it's very well related to our, professional careers as well. If you are not well, how will you work? It's as simple as it is. You will have to take care of yourself and your loved ones in order to be in the right mind frame to grow in your career, right? Because that becomes a major distraction for anyone, any human on this earth to, not be in the right frame to work precisely. So that's one learning that pandemic has given to all of us, along with the upskilling part that everybody is talking about. All right. So I think this actually brings us to the end of our conversation. I'm very, very happy about, the elements that we spoke. And thank you everyone for those superb thoughts and insights that you've shared today. Mohan, I would want to invite you for the closing remarks of our conversation today. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Sukriti. Firstly, thank you to all of you, Shiju, Saravanan, Kicha, Adil. Wonderful conversation. Obviously, a lot to learn from all of you in your first-hand ride there, driving engineering for very large organizations. So thank you so much to all of you. Sukriti, broadly, I think we've said the same things over and over, so it's kind of repetition, but yeah, we are summarizing by saying have curiosity, learn, create impact, make friends, build a network, and most importantly, take care of yourself, health, family, mental health, physical health. I can't imagine anybody with poor health doing extremely well in a job. So I think those would be the summary.
Thank you, Mohan. You fantastically summarized our conversation. I would also want to have a closing remark from each one of you so that, it's a good wrap for all of us. Shiju, I'll move to you. I think you're in mute, Shiju. I can't hear you. Yeah. Yes.
So thanks, Sukriti, and thanks, Mohan, for summarizing that way. I think it's great learning actually for all of us when we come together and interact, and especially in the onset of this pandemic. So I like really, for me, the takeaway really has been the impact, curiosity, and also the range. I think that is really the takeaway. So if we do that with the low code, no code kind of an environment, right? It is not about, it's about integrating multiple things and creating a solution that really matters. So really that range is very key. So that's my takeaway. So thank you so much, everyone, for a great conversation. Thank you, Sukriti.
Thank you. Adil?
I think as we close off over here, Sukriti, I think it's been a great discussion, right? And if you really look at the world today and you just kind of rewind back 2 years back or maybe 18 months back, and if I look at things, in the next 5-10 years horizon, I think it's a great place to be in as a technologist, right? It's the world is moving towards it. It's becoming intrinsic to, I think, anything and everything we do, right? From entertainment to business to, disaggregation of channels and all of that. So it's really the right spot to be in for everyone who is involved in this area. And just wanted to wish everyone all the best as they go about building their careers as they go along.
Thanks, Adil. Kicha?
So I think we start off by saying this and end by saying this. There is no better time to be in the industry. First of all of you, anyone is even thinking of building a career, extending their career. And the good part about it is you don't have to worry about failure, because even if you fail, you will succeed, because the industry is going to be growing. It is the best place to actually try, learn, experiment, and fail. It's okay. Actually, more failure, more learning, more failure will lead to more success in the industry. So go for it, follow your passions. Again, there's no better time. Good luck to all of you.
Thanks, Kicha. Saravanan?
Yep. So it's a great time, as everyone mentioned. It's going to be a great time for all the technologists. And there is a say, right, dev and ops will separate and we become DevOps. Similarly, many of the things like front end and back end becomes one full stack developers, right? So there's a lot of synergy and marriage is going to happen between the business and the technologist. And as I mentioned, technologies are going to be the leaders because they know the technology and they understand the business and they can be the world's powerful people, right? You name a leader in any of all of the people, all of these companies, they are the hardcore developers, and they brought up to this level, right? That's exactly what I would I'll ask that team to look at as a overall full stack developer. Come get the business into that, so you will be a future leader for the future, right? Wishing you all the very best. One final quote: always learning is constant. Sometimes some of the things you should unlearn, and some of the things you should keep relearning it. So learn, unlearn, and relearn. It's important.
Thank you, Saravanan. Thank you so much. I'm immensely grateful to all of you for being a part of this conversation today and gracing our event today. Adil, Kicha, Mohan, Saravanan, and Shiju. Thank you so much. I had a wonderful time discussing the future proofing and in terms of upskilling. How can people look at those things? It was an absolute pleasure speaking with each one of you. I am delighted to inform everyone that we have more than 2,000 people watching us live right now. And thank you everyone for joining us. Hope you had some great learning for your career development from this conversation. And this is a wrap for us. Stay tuned to TechGeek for more tech conversations as the year has just begun. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful year ahead, everyone. Eminent panelists, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation.
Thanks for organizing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.